Hi guys, it's Sherry. Today we are going to be making some faux stained glass. And I'm going to be making a few of these off and on throughout the next couple months, showing different ways that you can create faux stained glass. So the first one is I got these silk screens, and they're sticky silk screens. So the very first thing, I got clay on me. The very first thing that I did was I wrote back on the back of the plastic, because you want to make sure that you are putting the plastic on the way that you receive it, okay? And when you're getting ready to play with them, make sure you have a bowl of soapy water. So I have just cool, lukewarmish soapy water here. So as soon as I'm done with the silk screen, I'll throw it right in there. I have my translucent clay rolled out to my middle section of my pasta machine. And I'm going to take this off. And then you put the sticky side down. And you want to make sure it has a good connection with the clay. So just rub over it lightly. And when you're doing your clay, what I found is, because my clay is thin, what I cut it on is what I am going to bake it on. This way I don't have to lift it up off my tile, okay? So you won't disfigure it, move it around. Right now, today is 95 degrees here. If I try to move this clay, it is gonna mush and get gross, and it's just not gonna work because it's too hot, even with my air conditioner on. I have my acrylic paint. And then I'm just gonna take my squeegee and go right over my stencil or silk screen. Okay, and then I will lift up my silk screen. And you can see if you miss anything, everything looks good. I did get a little area there that I kind of missed. So I'm just going to go over that area one more time. And then I'm going to put it right in the soapy water. And then I'll let it sit there for about 5 to 10 minutes just to kind of soak before I actually rinse it off in my sink. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to cut my piece out. So I'm going to line up my cutter, and I love that they give you a cutter option to go with this. And then just press down on it carefully. Oops. If you have a block, that'll probably be better since it's so wide. And then the only reason I'm kind of tearing off my clay like this is to make sure that it's not going to move. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to get ready to place this in my oven. What I am going to do first is I'm going to let my ink dry. Then I'm going to put a piece of paper over it with my tile, and it's a small tile. And then I'm going to place this on top. By doing that, you're going to ensure that your piece, because it's thin, is not going to bubble, buckle, do anything. It'll be as smooth as it is right now. So make sure when you're using clay that's super thin, you're kind of weighing it down to prevent any bubbles underneath forming up at the top. I call it like blistering because it looks like it blisters. And always a sheet of paper first, and then your tile. So read your package and follow the directions on your package. I know a lot of people have been asking, you know, how long do I bake it for and what temperature? On your package, here's my Primo Sculpey here. It'll tell me 275, 30 minutes every 1/4 inch. So if you have Primo, do 275, half hour. If you have something else, read your package. It'll tell you exactly how long and what temperature. And then when this is completely cooled off, we'll come back and we will finish this piece up. All right, guys, so my piece is out of the oven. You can see how flat it is. There's no bubbles in here. It baked beautifully by putting those tiles on. So now I want to take my ink and start coloring this. And the first thing that I'm going to do is actually use a Sharpie Creative marker. And that's because I want this lily flower to be white. And I don't have any actual like white ink that's going to work well on this. So I'm just going to use my Sharpie marker and I'm actually going to color this. And I'm going to take my time on it because I want to make sure that I'm not getting on my lines. I want to kind of keep a nice clean look of this and make sure that you can see all the outlines on it. And if you get a little bit on it, it's okay. But try to do your best to make sure you have most of that line where it's supposed to be. And these Sharpie markers, you can see they have these beautiful tips. They're real soft, almost like a paintbrush. And you can see I'm getting right into those real tiny areas. These Sharpie markers are fantastic for like little things like this. They're not necessarily like see-through, but you will be able to see a little bit through the white because I'm just putting one coat on. I'm not going to go over it, you know, repeatedly. Some areas I'll probably, you know, touch up, like this little area here I'll touch up, but I'm not overly concerned about going over and over and over it like I normally would because I want it to be see-through. So look over your piece, make sure you didn't miss any areas that you want to get. There we go. And then next I am actually going to be using some resin ink. So this is fluorescent green. And you can use alcohol ink as well. And this one you don't have to be so cautious because the ink, you'll be able to see all your paint that you did right through the ink. With the white, it would just cover up your paint. So you've got to be a little bit more careful with that. I want to make this piece very colorful, so I am going to really just bring in a bunch of bright colors at this point. So this is going to be my fluorescent green, and I'm going to bring in some yellows and reds and things like that to go for the actual stained glass. All right, so now I am just going to place this in my oven, and truthfully just for 5 minutes because I want to make sure that my ink here kind of hardens a little bit and dries out before I do my next step. So just put it in at your recommended temperature for your clay and just do 5 minutes. All right, so my piece now is out of the oven. You can see now that everything is basically sealed onto there. So now I'm going to go around and I'm going to paint the entire piece. And I'm just going to continue making it bright and using my resin ink. So you do the yellow first on here, and I just did a real thin coat, and now I'm just spreading my pink over it. And you can see I'm not being overly cautious on my colors spread in, I'm okay with it because all my colors are going to blend nicely together. The one nice thing about when you bake the very first part of the green, you can mix it a bit like I am right now, and you can still see that green there. So it's not going to overly affect it and destroy your green. I do want to take a tiny bit of my yellow and clean my brush here. Take a little bit of that yellow. Let me get a clean brush because that's just not going to stay clean for me. And then I'm just going to kind of go right over my white. But I'm not going to do the whole thing. I want some white to show. So I'm just going to go over, kind of like I'm doing like a little scratch with coloring. You know how you kind of scribble with your coloring? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of scribble right over it. All right, so now I am going to actually put this back in for another 5 minutes, seal everything, and then we can finish it up. And you'll see I'm getting some blends here. I'm all right with that. If I get a little bit of my colors in my petals, I'm just going to kind of add it now. Give it some color. And that's what's nice about doing the paint, or not the paint, the inks, is you can blend and kind of go with the flow, which is really beautiful. So, all right, let me put this in for 5 minutes. Okay, guys, so this is what it looks like so far. Now I'm going to start doing the purple, and I'm just going to move on. And I think I'm going to do white around the edges just to clean it all up nice. And I did find white. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to try to blend my purple and my white together to make a lighter purple. All right, guys, so my piece is out of the oven. The yellow from baking it again kind of seeped into the white. So I really like the yellow. So I'm just going to take my marker and just kind of put little marks into it to give it that little yellow specks. And you can actually see it's very see-through, and I'll put it up to a light then so you can really see it better, but it's coming out pretty nice. I just like to really add a little bit more to it. So my ink is still a little bit wet. I'm going to kind of just dab the extra wetness so I can put my marker over it, and only on the leaves. And this will give it some color as well. I really want to kind of make this particular piece pop. The only reason I baked it, I'm not sure if I said this earlier, was so that my ink would really kind of just adhere to the clay properly. You can see this is still a little bit wet. Now that will dry completely on its own, but I want to kind of make sure that it stayed. See, that to me is starting to already look much, much better just by adding little marks in there. And I'm going to look over and I'm going to fix some of my black lines that kind of faded a bit from my other paint. And I'm just going to kind of trace them over again in certain areas. I like the idea of having my paint or my outlines nice and dark. All right, so now I'm going to let that completely dry 100%. And then, oh, you know what else I want to do? I want to edge around my piece. So I want to find my dry area. So I'm actually going to take my black Sculpey marker and I'm going to edge right around the piece and give it a solid black look. Just to finish it off real nice. And then I'm going to let it dry. And then I will put my either Sculpey gloss glaze or something along those lines. I haven't decided if I want this to be matte or if I want it to be glossy. So once it dries, it'll give me a better idea of what I really want to do. So I'm just going to get my edges. This is real simple. A little time consuming, but I think it has nice results. My piece is completely dry now, so the last thing that I want to do is glaze it and put a hole in it so we can hang it up. So I'm just going to use my regular drill here. I'm going to go right in the middle. I believe that's the middle right there. And then I'll put my Sculpey gloss on. I decided to do just a satin glaze one. And this should make the colors look just absolutely stunning. All right, so I will just let this dry and then we can hang it up and see what it looks like in the light. All right, guys, so my piece is dry and I'm gonna hold it up to the light and then you can see how beautiful that looks. So I look forward to being able to hang this in my window and have it shining through into my kitchen. I hope you enjoyed creating this piece with me. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all next time. Bye.